So it's Mike McGear time. Mike McGear, Mike McCartney, Scaffold, Grimm's, everything else. If you don't know who Mike McGear is, it's Paul McCartney's brother, obviously. And if you don't know, now you know. If you didn't know, now you know. I am a book collector of Genesis books, and those are from the United Kingdom, Genesis Publications, since 1974. And in around 80, 81, they started, and there's going to be, down the line, I'm going to showcase more of my Genesis books. But in 1981, George Harrison and Michael Rowlands kind of hooked up. Michael Rowlands was the publisher of Genesis. Now his son and family has taken over. And they've done this sort of mini, almost like family operated, publishing mecca of rock and roll related books. The rock and roll series has been amazing. They are limited editions, numbers, hand bound. Most of them are printed in Italy. Sometimes tipped in photographs and art pieces and ephemera that relates to the whole, depending on the artist involved. Now, I collect all the Beatle related Genesis books, but there's been books on Bowie and Mick Rock and Ronnie Wood and the Stones and so many other rock artists that are really, Lou Reed and others. But I've sort of specifically done the Beatles related, which would be the Beatles, starting with George Harrison. I mean, mine was the very first one, and his lyric books. Concert for George years later, the tour with Eric Clapton in Japan, Yoko Ono, Stuart Sutcliffe, Astrid Kirchner, the photographers. Up here you can see, these aren't all Genesis books, but those are a majority mixed in with a few other things on my Genesis publications. Playback, which is an autobiography of George Martin, signed all by the artist Ravi Shankar, signed by Ravi Shankar. Michael Cooper is the photographer who photographed the covers of both Sgt. Pepper and Satanic Majesty's Request. You see a lot of outtakes. That's the Peter Blake designed Sgt. Pepper. What do we have? We have A Day in the Life, Beatles of Michael, photographs of Michael Ward, Traveling Wilburys, on and on and on and on, Jürgen Vollmer and others. But I just got the brand new, delayed by a year or two, partly because of the pandemic, partly because of maybe Mike's a little slow, but it literally came shipped directly from the binder and printers in Italy. But Genesis House is, I believe, in Surrey, in the UK, and they're all numbered. The Michael McGear book, which I'll show you in a minute, is limited to 2,000 copies, and I have one of the first 350 copies, yada, yada, yada. But before I get into that, let me just show you a little bit about my Michael McGear discography, what I have in my collection. He was in his comedy troupe called Scaffold. He changed his name from Mike McCartney to Michael Gear for obvious reasons. Didn't want to really sponge on his brother's name or get confused, especially back in the day. Scaffold was a Liverpudlian musical comedy group trio, very much in the lines of what Monty Python would become somewhat, Beyond the Fringe early on, The Goon Show, etc., that great kind of British comedy. And they had a hit that crossed over to the States called Thank You Very Much. Thank you very much for the Aintrine Iron. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very, very much. Great song, great bit. There they are. And what you have in this group is Gorman, McGough, and McGear, and on Parlophone Records. But this is a UK copy. This is another UK copy on Parlophone as well. And this is live at Queen Elizabeth Hall. Of course, they end up with Thank You Very Much, written by Mike McGear. Fresh Liver. Sold Out. Live, this stuff obviously works real well live. This is a Warner Brothers issue, recorded at Strawberry Studios, Stockport. Oh, Strawberry, okay. Partly, is this not live? Then it is live. Maybe it is. Yeah, I don't even remember now. Strawberry Studios is a studio owned and operated by 10cc. There you go. Now, the other group was the Grimms, another, again, musical comedy group. This is produced by Roger McGough, and Neil Innes. So there's this whole crossover with Neil Innes, who obviously was from the Bonzo Dog Doodah Band, and who wrote most of the music with Eric Idle for Monty Python. Neil Innes, and the Grimms with Michael McGear. The Grimms, Rockin' Duck, Quack Quack. Well, anyway, it slides out. It's hard to do this with two, Look, Neil Innes is on here. Mike McGear, Roger McGough, Brian Patton, John Gorman. There you go. Andy Roberts, David Richard. Yeah. And then, of course, his solo album, his debut, I believe, Woman, Michael McGear. And this is on Island Records with lyrics inside. And the one that is basically, this is McGear. This is a fantastic pop record. This is essentially a Wings record. It's Mike McGear with Paul and Linda and Denny Lane. It's essentially a Wings album, and it came out in 1974. It does a great cover of Sea Breezes, the Roxy Music song. And McCartney and Linda and Denny are all over this record. And his singing is in fine form. This is a cutout, sealed copy I still have from my record store days in the mid-70s. This is my original UK copy. And this album was reissued with CD. There's extra outtakes and alternate versions. And it was produced by Paul McCartney. And this is the reissue that came out just in the last couple of years. And with a signed postcard, when I got my copy directly. So Mike McGear, thank you very much for the Aintree Iron. Now, let's talk about this new book put out by Genesis Publications. Limited edition Genesis book. This is Mike McCartney's Early Liverpool, Photographs and Drawings by Michael McCartney. Now, I do have a photograph of his that I got when he had a show in San Francisco at the Michael Shapiro Gallery, and I met him at the time. And I have one of his prints that my friend Larry left me in his will when he passed on in 2013, and I'll show that on another time. But this is this beautiful, they always have these beautiful clamshell cases and/or versions of slip cases, but mostly clamshell. And let's kind of go through this. Here we go. It comes, my edition is from the first 350, Mike McCartney's Early Liverpool, photographs by Mike McCartney. I have number 14 out of 350. There are 2,000 totally of the regular edition, and these are signed prints, 3 signed prints, digital prints that come with this edition. This is John and Paul obviously rehearsing early on in the McCartney household. Paul McCartney in Liverpool. And Ringo and George. And now the book. What's great about these Genesis books, again, they're beautifully printed and collated, and a lot of times some of the editions have special inserts. Now this was signed again by Michael. Talks about the early days, the history of Liverpool when they were born during the war. We'll go through everything. The McCartney family. Some of these photographs you've seen in different publications. McCartney's had some books out over the years, some different editions, obviously through the Beatles anthology and beyond, and McCartney's books. But they're just a really beautiful, collated book of the early days of Liverpool. And what a time, man. Who would have thought, right? 60 years later, we're kind of looking at this stuff on a historical level. So a lot of times they'll have something like this, which is a tipped in newspaper pressing replica within photographs of Big Brother, Little Brother, the other brother. So that's just a little introduction and a little, my version of an unboxing. I don't unbox from the box. I think it's a waste of time, but I want to show the artwork. And what a lovely addition to my Beatle collection. And from Genesis Publication, lovely job, worth the wait. Thank you. And Mazzy loves you.
Thank you very much for the entry, and thank